and Poor says any attempt to undermine South Africa's key institutions like the Treasury would see the country likely downgraded to junk status. Without threatening a downgrade, in a careful address, SNP Sub-Saharan African MD Conrad Roos said that any attempt to undermine the SOEs would be a negative for the agency. SNP and Fitch Ratings both have South Africa's credit rating at BBB in the negative outlook, which is one notch above junk status, and Moody's rating is slightly better at Baa2 with negative outlook. S&P is set to deliver its next ratings review on the 2nd of December. And this comes after Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan's fraud summons over the early retirement of former SARS Deputy Commissioner Ivan Pillay earlier this week. It also comes a day before Public Protector, or rather, it's now a day before Public Protector released her report on state capture today. Now, the SNP warning raises a pertinent question whether it is in advance or an advice rather, or an interference. This is what the SNP Sub-Saharan Africa MD Conrad Roos had to say. And I quote, he says, any attempts to undermine these institutions will be a negative from the ratings agencies. And what has changed is that the political tension and turmoil has come to the fore. It is a game changer from South Africa 10 years ago. This is not about political noise, and here we have a political tension that can undermine structural reforms that can become a serious risk to the country's credit rating. Everything is not business as usual in this situation, end quote. And here are some key questions ANN7 is raising. Is SNP trying to equate Pravin Gordhan with the Treasury? And is the agency uncomfortable with South African law taking its course? And shouldn't SNP explain the policy uncertainty they vaguely refer to? And can they also correct, or rather, are they correct to comment on the internal institutional processes of the country? And joining us from Seifsa is Economist Tafadzwa Chibanguza. I hope I did your name justice. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sense of all of this, because there is that panic and not in the country's psyche whenever we hear about possible downgrades and what it all will mean. Is this all likely? Is it done and dusted?
Evening, Cindy.
Hi.
Thanks for having us. To put it all into context, firstly, I think as a federation, the warning that's been sounded by SNP, we think is a valid warning, and it's one that we back and say that, the institutions, I want to give the context around what I want to say.
Okay.
Is that institutions in any economy are very important in that they are the primary source of economic delivery. Now, that's in the sense of economic service delivery, or even just the facilitation of economic growth. So the idea then is to say that in that growth equation, or in any growth equation, institutions have a very important role to play.
I get that, but the institutions are also managed. There is an executive team, they have their own financials, so they're autonomous to the state.
Correct.
So that even if there was government administration for whatever need necessary, it will not tamper negatively with the operations of that institution.
Absolutely. And I think also that would be valid where there is internal, say, inefficiencies in any state institution. Then that's where we would say where we could raise concern. But what we have seen, and anecdotal or not, we have seen in instances where there is political interference in some of the state-owned institutions. Now that there is where the concern is raised, be it on a direct level on some of them, and again, like I say, some of it seems anecdotal, but the idea is that it sends the wrong idea.
Yeah. How much control do we have in influencing? Like you said, there's been months of hard work and meetings, etc., with world leaders to put forward their business case for South Africa in terms of stability, monetary policy, and the capability to just encourage more growth and investment, etc. So how much influence does South Africa have in state-owned entities, or even a presidency, in giving confidence to rating agencies? Or is it one-sided? Is it them looking in, or is it something that we can do about it?
I think I would answer that in saying that everyone was talking about a downgrade at the last review, And that's something that we averted because there was political will, there was coherence from all sides to show that we are working together to try and avert this downgrade. So that's the first important thing, that it's both ways. We were able to influence the decision, if we can put it that way. But when we look at, for example, some events of this week, as well as some that we hear about, yourselves in the media do report on them quite extensively, it gives the perception of some interference taking place. For example, to house all the state-owned institutions into one portfolio looked after by the state or by the executive of the state. In a sense, even that shows an element of the control, where the control internally would sit. So the idea that I'm saying is that it's a both. They do listen to us, and it goes both directions. The fact that we averted the downgrade in the last round is sense that they do listen to us.
Okay. So the junk status in itself, will South Africa or the economy still survive it? We know that lending will become more expensive, but this will not necessarily deter any other foreign investment. Correct. I mean, would it be business as usual?
Look, in the sense that, I think a week ago, National Treasury was talking to the extent how much they limit their exposure to foreign debt in terms of dollar or foreign currency denominated debt, will just on a higher cost base. That's the first impact. The opportunity cost, and I think that's what we need to focus on, is that in a world of cheap money, to then have a downgrade negate the fact that you could have got the money cheaper. And these are own goals, avoidable own goals that would have caused that. I think that's how we have to look at it. So there's an opportunity cost. The cost will definitely be higher, but I wouldn't say that the country will fall into turmoil.
Okay, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there.